Hello, my name's Steve Haynes. I'm an alumni of the Royal College of Music, and I spent 10 years working in all aspects of the music business, from trialling with orchestras to working in the West End, in education, in recording, and recently gave all that up to be London Regional Official at the Musicians Union. So I'm here today at the Musicians Union headquarters in London to talk about the Musicians Union. We represent about 30,000 musicians working in all different aspects of the music industry. And one of those members is my old friend, Mike Poyser, and we're going to talk to you today about the ups and downs of the music industry and how the Musicians Union can help circumnavigate that journey. So, Mike, obviously you have a wide and varied portfolio career now as on the teaching staff at the Royal College of Music. People may recognise you. Obviously, you have a great portfolio career from working in orchestras through to your fabulous band that you play sousaphone in. Mike's a tuba player, but he plays sousaphone in the fabulous band Big Shake Up. If you've not heard them, go listen to them. They're absolutely fantastic. So, Mike, why don't you tell us a bit about what it's like a week in the life of Mike Poyser?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thank you for the plug with the band, by the way. That's very, very generous of you. So, I mean, a week, there isn't such a thing as a generalised week in my life. There is, every week is very different, and it's a cliche to say that, but every week is literally different. What I do, I teach in a school. I do that every week. So I teach as a peripatetic brass teacher, and then I kind of just wait to see what's going to come through into my work diary. And so that could be playing in an orchestra all week. It could be playing and fixing bands for jazz bands. I do a lot of music education project work. So there's that amount of variety kind of gets dotted around through the week. And all of those things put together kind of make me and my career tick, really. All of that, if everything goes well, it all comes together and it sounds great, and it's every bit of my career goes well. The flip side is, as you get more and more busy, you can't actually keep control of bookings and things further in advance. I get asked about work going all the way through the year, and so trying to balance your diary throughout the year is quite tricky. There are weeks, quite frankly, where you look at it and go, wow, I've got very little on this week. Great, it means I can go on holiday if I've got the money. But secondly, you go, oh, I hope I haven't done anything wrong. And the concept of a paranoid musician is a strong phrase. But I kind of sit there, and now I'm in my 30s. I feel like I know enough to go, actually, it's just that nothing's worked out for this week. It's not that I'm a bad person or a bad workshop leader or a bad teacher, etc., etc.
So you're leading a really kind of what we would call a portfolio career, and it's fun, isn't it? It's great fun.
Yes, it's challenging, but it's great fun.
So why did you join the MU?
I joined the MU when I was still at college, and it was actually my tuba professor, who is currently still one of the tuba professors at the RCM, Owen Slade. He turned around and said, look, if you want to be covered and looked after in the music industry, you need to be part of this MU, this Musicians Union thing. It's what guarantees and helps keep the fees in the correct position. So they argue for you, and they sort out money for all these different gigs that you're going to do. And it also makes you aware when you accidentally sign up to things that aren't paid correctly.
I was going to ask you as well, so how has the MU helped you during this portfolio career of yours? Because presumably there are instances that crop up where you do need that backing of a big organisation to help you sort something out.
Even just being a member and being an active member is something that kind of helps you get through the industry. I mean, we had a contract that said we were doing two gigs a week, and they wanted to put a third gig in without changing the money. And so we were like, well, actually, there should be a difference. And my boss at the time just said, I'm not even going to ask the band to kind of I'd be embarrassed asking in the band. Mike is an active member of the MU. We can't ask him to change things without changing the contract. And just being part of this bigger organisation, it feels like a comfort blanket that's going to look out for you, which is an important thing.
And it's you raise another interesting angle there, which is your involvement with the MU as an activist. So not just as a member of the MU, but kind of getting involved and participating in the process of the organisation.
Yes. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your MU involvement as an activist?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't an activist within the MU for over a decade. I paid my subs and kind of just left it there, and knew that knowing the organisation was running for me was enough. And then gradually I started to think, well, actually, if I can be part of it and help in various ways, by being active, you get a closer relationship, but also by being an activist, I know the mechanisms of the MU a bit better, which is important. And so I thought, well, actually, rather than kind of sitting back, taking a back seat, I'm going to actually get involved. So I put myself down to join the London Regional Committee, which you get voted in on. And I've been a member of that for 3 years now, I think. And that meets several times a year and discusses various issues that's affecting the London music scene. And so I feel very proud to be part of that and hopefully help with suggestions and ideas. And then within that, I've also been kind of quite heavily involved in the formation of the Young Members Committee. I mean, I guess one of the reasons this video exists is because I'm so passionate and so keen to get young people into the MU. I think it's the way the MU is going to go forwards is by getting students in that are going to kind of bring their youth and their passion and their new ideas into the union. I think that's important, and so being part of the Young Members Committee, aged 36 as I am, is something I'm really, really passionate about.
One of the fears that people have is, I don't want to be associated with, I don't want to be a troublemaker, I don't want to stick my head above the parapet, And I think certainly from my experience, the first thing to say is that when you're involved with an organisation like the MU, it actually can give you the anonymity. If you've got a problem in a workplace situation, you can phone the MU and hide behind that democracy.
Yes.
Nobody knows that it's you that's phoned up. And you can report things, so you don't have to put your head above the parapet. That's my job now.
Yes.
People respect you. Your colleagues respect you for being the one to fight those battles, and not necessarily fighting the battle. Sometimes the employer would rather have you there because they know that you can be diplomatic and they know that you can problem solve and get a best outcome for everyone.
Yeah.
It's perhaps worth us talking as well, Mike, about the difference between your role within the union and my role, and the structure, if you like, of how the MU works. Yeah. So why don't you talk to us about the structure of the MU from the committee side of it and how that works?
Okay, so you'll have to correct me when I go wrong here, Stephen. There is an executive committee, right? And the executive committee is the committee that kind of steers policy and feeds into the General Secretary's remit of work and steers the MU wherever it needs to be steered, basically. And that's a national body, and it's made up of people from all over the UK. Performing musicians from all over the UK are nominated to serve on that executive committee. And then within each regional committee, there are loads and loads of subcommittees, aren't there? And those are subcommittees that look at specific areas of the MU's work. So in London, you're going to have to add to this list for me, but there's an orchestral committee, is that right? Mm-hmm. There is a West End committee, there is a Young Members Committee, there's a teaching committee, Is there a hub reps committee? Is that separate?
Yeah, so we have hub reps in all the different areas of the music education.
You're part of a huge structure, aren't you?
I'm a regional official, so I have to deal with lots of different areas, but we do have specialist officials as well. So within the recording and broadcasting department, obviously we've got 2 fantastic assistant general secretaries, and then we've got education department, the live performance department, the orchestral department, etc., etc.
Am I right in saying there are standardised contracts available to MU members to help you with that?
That's right, yeah. So the MU has standard contracts available for members to use in various different aspects of live work and recording work and etc.
If you get phoned up by a big orchestra, then you don't need to necessarily go, I'm not working for you unless you send me a full contract.
You raise a very interesting point. Where's that line? And it's about knowing when you're going into an organisation, is this covered by a collective bargaining agreement? You know, it's perhaps a laborious task to, like you said, go online and try and find the rate and try and find out whether there's a collective agreement for something. But I can't understand any other aspect of life which you'd go into not knowing what it is that you're going to be, what you've signed up for. You know, I'm on the phone to lawyers daily. You know, and whether that's an employment issue, it's a contractual issue, or a copyright issue. You know, we've got lawyers there that design those contracts and design. You know, you can have contracts checked by our lawyers. We run a contract advisory service. So if you have a contract and you want it checking by a lawyer, then that's a service that we can offer. What happens if a fee remains unpaid or a gig is cancelled? When something goes wrong, we've got that legal back in there. So if a gig is cancelled or you don't get paid for something, you can come to us and we can pursue that on your behalf.
Any tips that you could offer us to help us negotiate fees in the future?
Whether you're negotiating on that level that you talk about of a you know, a tuba quartet, or whether it's one of the West End trade agreements, etc., it's the same principles that apply. We all negotiate in everyday life with everyone that's around us. And I mean, the important thing to remember, if I do give away one little trade secret, if you like, is that it's important to remember that sometimes it feels quite attacking what the other side are doing to you, and it's important to remember that actually people aren't against you, they're for themselves. So if you can find out what the other person's agenda is and what they're trying to achieve, then you've got a chance at trying to find some overlap in the middle of that Venn diagram, if you like, where it feels like both sides have achieved something, both sides have won, a win-win negotiation. So one of the things I was going to talk about as well is copyright and employment law. So a copyright exists in anything that's recorded or written down. So it can't exist in an idea. It has to have been formalised into whether that's a recording or on a computer or written down on a piece of paper, whether you're a composer, arranger, or whether you're a performing musician. We have a copyright registration service, the Vault at MUHQ, where you can send in works to be kept here. And then I guess the other kind of big aspect of law, which covers a lot of work that musicians do, is employment law, you know, and it's often a bit of a minefield, to be honest, with our members, because there are these different categories of employment status. You know, are you a self-employed person? Are you a worker? Are you an employee? So you might have 2 people sitting next to each other in an orchestra, say, where one of them is an employee and one of them is a worker or is self-employed. Whether you're a contracted member of the BBC, a salaried member of the BBC orchestra, or you're in as an extra or deputy.
If I was a student watching this video right now, and it goes, well, I'd be sat there going, well, what else do I get?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously we've talked a lot about the structure of the MU and, you know, and the staff and what we do and the collective agreements and all that. But I mean, there are some just, you know, I guess some kind of obvious things that will help.
Go on, give me some.
Okay, I've listed them just so I don't miss anything.
Okay, go on then.
So we've got public liability insurance. So if you were doing a gig in the V&A and you knocked an exhibit off the wall, then you're covered up to, I think it's £10 million. So that's a useful thing to have. Instrument insurance, we offer £2,000 worth of instrument insurance is free. Accident cover, professional expenses insurance, professional indemnity insurance. So there's lots of kind of insurance benefits there as well, which are tied in with all the other benefits of being a member of the Musicians Union.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really I think it's an amazing deal. I really do. So, Steve, you've been a performing member of the Musicians Union. You've worked across the industry, and now you've made that huge jump to actually work for the Musicians Union, work for the membership. If you were to give a young aspiring musician 3 top tips, what would they be?
I'd say know your rights. So when you're going into a situation, know if you're working under a collective bargaining agreement, know what employment law you're covered by, know if you've got copyright protection in any of those different arenas. I'd say the second one was get it in writing. Make sure you've got something there that you can rely on if something goes wrong. And thirdly, I'd say join the MU.